food, sex, I don't know which one wins, but I propose that we spend the next 15 minutes basically taking everything that culture has conditioned us to believe about women's sex drives and we collectively call bullshit. So I'm Cindy Eckert. I'm the founder of Addyi. Addyi is the first and only FDA-approved medication for women's libido. And what I'm going to tell you today is that it was about 15 years ago that I started this journey of calling bullshit and changing a narrative to get to where we are today to permissively talk about women's sexual pleasure. So 15 years ago, if I walked into the doctor's office and I said, you know what, I'm really struggling. Something's changed for me. Something is different. The classical prescription was a pat on the shoulder and a send home to take a bubble bath and light some candles. Now, I love a bubble bath and some candles, but I'm also quite clear that that doesn't address a biological issue. And I think that's part of the crisis in women's health, that we've been conditioned to believe that everything we experience is rooted in only emotion and not biology. Both can have room. So I'll show you, this really is what started it for me. 15 years ago, I'm standing at the Sexual Medicine Society meeting. Yes, there is one of those. I'm a card-carrying member. It makes me really popular at cocktail parties. But I'm standing at this meeting, and I'm looking at brain scan images that you see here on the slide being shown of women who say, I'm happy with my sex drive, and other women who are struggling with it. They put them into MRIs, and they expose them to porn, erotica. And what you see on the screen is at the top, the women who are happy with their sex drives, activating, reacting to those cues, and women at the bottom who described, I don't know what it is, something's changed for me, I don't think about it anymore, I want it, but the switch went out for me. No surprise. Their brains did not react when they saw porn. Now, these are studies that were completed and repeated all over the world. I was standing there because I built one of the male sexual health companies. So here I was, a woman in pink in a sea of blue pills, and I was helping men lead more satisfying sex lives. My product helped men lead a more satisfying sex life. In fact, there were 26 FDA-approved treatment options for men to lead a satisfying sex life and not a single one for women. This despite the fact that more women than men actually struggle. So if this room was full of men, fewer of them have ED than the women sitting in the room right now who are struggling with this very issue that is a medical issue that has been known about in the medical literature since 1977. Oh my God, lightning struck me. It's biology. This shouldn't come as a surprise that we're wired biologically to want sex. Our sex drive starts here in our brain. So how could it be that the standard of care was to pat us on the shoulder and tell us to schedule date night? Do those things, sure, absolutely if they help you, but not to the exclusion of being taken seriously if you're struggling with a medical issue. So I sometimes to point out just, the absolute absurdity of a situation, it helps to draw a parallel. So just curious, in this room today, how many of you have either been helped by or know somebody who's been helped by a GLP-1? So a GLP-1 is Ozempic, Mounjaro, those products that we're talking about a lot in press right now around weight loss, right? So think about that for a second. How many of you in this room have ever tried a fad diet? Did it work? For a minute. And I think that that's a piece of it. Like, I look at that as a very similar parallel. So if you think about how we've advanced in the conversation around obesity or weight, just people struggling with their weight, right? And what has typically been the narrative? To sort of be patted on the shoulder and say, try harder. You got to work out more. You got to exercise. You got to eat right. You've got to do yes, 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 yes. All of those lifestyle medications. But could it also be possible that for a group of those people, there's something rooted in their genetics? Of course. Which is why we see people who have been struggling maybe for their whole life and felt ashamed and stigmatized because of this struggle, that no matter what they did, no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't take the weight off. And suddenly, they get something that addresses biology and it works. And that is what I hoped for women when I saw this. For all of those women who are struggling, let them at least be taken seriously. So here's what we did. I sold off my profitable business in men. I look back on it like taking candy from a baby. So easy to sell men a satisfying sex life. Why? Because we're conditioned to believe they're entitled to it. It's biblical. Male pleasure goes so far back in time. We're reproductive beings. They're wired for pleasure. Pleasure is ours to deliver, theirs to receive. No. That didn't sit right with me. So I sold off my business in men and I took this on. The science is spectacular that we saw that actually this is our biggest sex organ. I like to say we're brain flow, not blood flow. Maybe a little bit of an oversimplification because of course we need directed blood flow as well to enjoy arousal, etc. But at its core, that's what it was. And here's what we did. We went out and we studied it. We studied it we had 38 phase 1 trials, 5 phase 2, 5 phase 3, 5 long-term safety studies. This is the largest ever studied drug at the time it was submitted to the FDA in women. And women weren't even required to be in medical trials until 1993. This is the largest drug ever studied. And what did we do? We proved that you could address the biology of sex for women. That actually there is something happening for these women in which you can address brain chemistry and an imbalance that happens for millions of us. Mayo Clinic just released new data. 40% of women, by their estimate, will struggle with this at some point in their lifetime. And we proved it. We proved it in double-blinded, placebo-controlled trials. Real medicine can work to help. Now I'm curious. I like to ask questions. Before I took the stage today, how many of you know there's a pink pill for women? Look around the room for a second. I'm curious. How many of you know there's a blue pill for men? Yeah, it starts with a V, it rhymes with Niagara. I can't go to a single audience in the world and not see the entire audience raise their hand. How can that be? Let me give you a Cliff Notes version. In fact, I just want you to think to yourself, just keep this in your mind, but what if the pill had been blue? But what if the pill had been blue? I'll tell you. When Viagra was approved in 1998, it was deemed to meet such an important unmet medical need that it received rare fast-track status through the FDA. It was granted approval in 6 months. National emergency if men can't get it up. So, 6 months. Guess how long it took the pink pill? 6 years. And a very public clickbait controversy bunch of bullshit. People say, well, how much more sex is enough? I don't know. Women in your trials, they only have sex 2 times more a month. Is that enough? Well, they go from not having sex to having sex. Ask her. She goes from having mercy sex with a partner because she loves her partner. She wants to want her partner. And now she's having satisfying sex because guess what? We didn't have to just prove one thing. We had to prove 3. We had to prove that women had more desire for sex on the product. We had to prove that they had higher quality sex, satisfying sex when they had it, and that we decreased the stress they felt. Struggling with this issue. Not one thing, 3 things. And oh, guess what? The what if it had been blue? We have 3 times as many patients worth of data in the pink pill than men have in the blue pill. There's more science. You don't hear about it because we dismiss women's biology. The single biggest crisis in women's health is that you are not taken seriously. And I've lived it. I built a male sexual health company, and I've built a women's. And I looked around the room, and guess when this product was approved? 10 years ago. And you don't even know it exists. And here's why you don't know it exists. Because the regulatory queue has a double standard, 3 times as many patients worth of data, because the advertising world loves a clickbait controversy and to marginalize this issue, because insurance companies feel like they can get away with not paying for it and telling you, fail marriage counseling first, true story, and because the medical establishment is not proactively asking you about this. I told you it's been 15 years. Here's what I'm really proud of. Today, to pass your boards, whether you want to be a family practice doctor, internal medicine, OBGYN, or urology, you have to answer a question about Addie. That's how we change it, but I need your help. I need your help. I need women to demand better. Women's health deserves better than a gummy. Women's health deserves it when I'm in a conversation, I ask a doctor, what are my medical solutions? It can't just be that everything we experience is rooted in our emotion, and therefore we are patted on the shoulder, we are told things are normal, that are common, and they are not further explored, but we must demand it. That's actually up to us, and I'm so thrilled that now this conversation is starting to happen because women are calling bullshit. They're demanding better. Do not allow yourself to be dismissed if you're struggling with a medical issue. Like I said, have a bath, light some candles. It can do wonders, but if you're suffering with a medical condition, do not accept the pat on the shoulder. Don't be duped. Look, the products, there was a big product launch yesterday. You know, as it turns out, horny goat weed won't actually change this issue. So sorry, hot take here today, that's not gonna work, even though it comes in pretty packaging and it's got a big celeb behind it. That's not gonna actually work, and we do a disservice to women if we continue to perpetuate that, because you know what? If we don't believe that we deserve products studied in our own bodies to the highest standard of science that have proven it to safety and efficacy, right? No one else will. We're gonna continue to get a dog's breakfast of bullshit, and we deserve better than that. That is the truth. So I tell you today, please go tell your friends. Did you know there's a little pink pill for women? Because I could use the help, in all honesty. But much more important than that, let me tell you about this for Addie. And even when I started out with it, this was never about getting a product approved. I love how many women this has helped, and I love their stories when they come out to me after events like this. But you know what? Whether or not you ever take the little pink pill, whether or not you ever need it, the atrocity is you don't even know it exists. Thanks for having me.